Using different materials kind of has been like the main sort of exploration of kind of, yeah, how they kind of combine together. So paint and metals and surfacing, different surfaces in particular, is what I look at most. I think that's, yeah, and then bringing in ideas that kind of come after that sort of use of material and finding out how the material works and what I'm going to do with it. And then separately the ideas coming from that and the research then sort of adds to it in some way. So I guess it's use of materials probably is what I like to work with best, and exploring them, different surfaces. Because originally I was doing a lot of work around water, so investigating sort of historical sort of references to water. But then equally it's kind of moved, I've got lots of different ideas. So sort of a more sort of feminist approach in the past year with the anniversary of the women's right to vote, that's something else I've looked at. So whether or not that kind of comes into it, especially I've just mentioned talking about the ideas of lobsters and things and water in that sense, but then how that could relate to the sort of the Freudian idea of lobsters. So bringing those, almost those elements of female and water together might almost work. But then there's been the things that I mentioned where sort of looking at painting of figures on streets and homelessness, whether that continues or whether that kind of gets put to one side for the moment, or whether it kind of re-emerges, I don't know how that will kind of fit in there. So I guess for me I do lots of painting, and that actually I think that starts off how I work, is looking at images and then painting from that, and then through those looking at images that triggers off the research from into those images, and then again formulates new ideas as not just necessarily paintings but then installations, or how you can use objects from those as well. But I think the initial thing that always starts me off is an image of some sort, and then that just kind of moves into that sort of side. Having an idea and then trying to get that background information on it and going into much more detail on that one idea and trying to find out as much as you can about it. I think for me this is something that I really struggle with from my own point of view, where I sit as an individual at home trying to produce artwork on my own without having people around you to discuss ideas and theories and books to suggest looking at. I think for me that's something that I really need to be around other artists to discuss, to be able to do those sorts of things, because unless you know, or you can sort of filter through articles and sort of books on the internet as to what might be relevant, you don't know until you've actually got those things in front of you, or someone can suggest what might be right or not. So I think for me that's one area that I really want to work on and sort of get a grips to and sort of help my work with mostly. I don't know whether I've ever made a mental note of a particular piece of advice that I've ever been given. I've got a really strong mother, and I think in my life she's been a really strong voice that's always told me, you know, you can do whatever you want, and you can make decisions yourself, and you can be whoever you want to be. So I think, you know, if I was to look for anybody, I don't really listen to her advice all the time, but she's the person that would probably have given me the most advice over the years, but sort of instilled a sense of, you know, you can go out and do whatever you want. So I think, I mean, that's, I guess, the best advice for any artist really, is to be able to get out there and just an art teacher. This is something, I guess, that you kind of have to address at school and with the work I do outside of my own practice anyway. So, you know, it's how people sort of can live without creativity, just from a very early age, and to live without creativity sort of would really stop people from moving forward. I guess it's actually a sense of being able to move forward. Having a creative idea is the important part, because if you don't have that, I don't think anything would ever change, nothing would ever kind of move forward in any way. But I guess it's just to, you know, have people experience things in different ways and be able to view things in different ways, and get people to see things differently is really what I guess what it's about.